everybody, I'm here with your astrology for the month of October 2024. I enjoy talking about astrology, and so I thought I would maybe return to doing the monthly updates on the headlines in astrology. Now, if you want them in writing, I do have a free newsletter on my website that you can sign up for, and then it comes to your inbox and you have all the dates and all the different events and what they mean coming straight to your inbox. If you want an even more detailed astrology, on my Patreon, I do have weekly astrology reports where I talk about all the astrology for the week. But I thought I would do this where I'm talking about the headlines for the month, so you kind of know what's coming up, kind of the astrological weather report for the month of October. So we start the month of October in what's called eclipse season. And so what it is eclipses happen twice a year. So they happen in pairs. You'll see that there'll be a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. They're about 2 weeks apart. We had the last pair back in the spring. If you remember, there was that big eclipse that a lot of people looked at it was in North America, in Canada, in the United States. And so that one was very dramatic. And then we have eclipses now. We had one a couple of weeks ago, we had one, a couple of weeks ago in the sign of Pisces. It was a lunar eclipse. And now on October 2nd, we have a solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So eclipses tend to be times that are disruptive. They bring big beginnings and big endings. Lunar eclipses often reveal hidden things. They reveal secrets. They reveal things that were kind of like hidden under. And then we have solar eclipses tend to be times where stuff starts and ends. Now, it depends, of course, all of these things depend on what your chart looks like as far your birth chart, how it interacts with your birth chart, to whether it affects you directly or not. So there's times, like, for example, where eclipses, it's like, oh my God, things have changed, new starts, new beginnings, and other times where you might see a lot of drama around you, but it's not really affecting you. And that really depends, again, on your chart. But for example, this solar eclipse is in the sign of Libra. So if you know your birth chart, you can look at your Libra house to know what area of your life these endings or beginnings may be affecting you. Now, you don't need to know that Libra, it's about the scales. So it's about balance, it's about harmony, justice. Issues around legal issues may come up in the news. Like if you're looking at the broader world, you'll see that there may be things like partnerships ending, and not just like high profile celebrity divorce type things, but also like business partnerships. Libra is also about agreements, diplomacy, and there may be some things in that area that may be breaking down, or there may be like the end to like peace talks, which are hopefully, things will be more peaceful, but it also can lead to new beginnings and new starts of things. So watch for things around equality, fairness, legal issues coming up in the news over the next while. Now, eclipses are often considered a season because, like I said, they come in pairs. And so often these disruptions happen, maybe not necessarily right on the day of the eclipse, but around then. And so it's often considered that the season starts the week before the first eclipse of the pair and ends the week after the last eclipse of the pair. So it can affect that whole period, that whole month. So it's not just the day. But just so you know, the one on October 2nd happens at 10 degrees of Libra. So if you have a lot of Libra planets in your chart, or you have planets around 10 degrees of any of the signs, you're probably going to feel this particular eclipse more than others. And in the news, we've seen a lot of things where like hidden things have been uncovered. For example, there was the whole like P. Diddy thing, like came to light, things came out. There's, been an arrest, all of that. And so the hidden things came to light, like things kind of came out of the woodwork. I also think about like Dave Grohl. He's announced that he had like a love child outside of his marriage. Something that was hidden came to the surface, came to light. And Libra tends, it's ruled by Venus, and so it tends to affect things like entertainers, artists, people that are involved in like beauty or fashion, things like that. So interesting to see how that's already played out, and how we may see it continue to play out as we go through this eclipse season. Now, the next thing that's happening on in October is on October 9th, Jupiter stations retrograde. And so Jupiter is an outer planet. We tend to not feel the retrogrades of the outer planets as much as we do things like Mercury, Mars, Venus, right? But if you have planets, in the sign of Gemini, especially because Jupiter's in Gemini right now, or around like 20 degrees or so of, the different signs, you may feel this more than others, especially where it stops. Jupiter, is about expansion and luck. And when he's in Gemini, he really wants to expand our ideas and our knowledge, our communication, travel, that kind of thing. And so when he goes retrograde, it's not that things aren't expanding. They may just not be expanding as fast as we would like them to. It's kind of like, we're moving forward, but we've slowed down. We're not moving as fast as we were. And so it's saying whatever progress you're making, if it's slowed down, that's okay. It'll just be slow for a while. It's not the end of the world. With Jupiter retrogrades also caution us to not overpromise things, to not overextend ourselves. And so don't bite off more than you can chew, especially around this particular time. The next thing we have is that on October 11th, we have Pluto going direct, so going forward. So Pluto spends about half the year in retrograde again, not something we really feel on a personal level so much. But if you have he's at 29 degrees of Capricorn. He's right at the end of the sign of Capricorn. And to keep things in perspective, Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And he's sort of like last year, he went for a few months into Aquarius, and then he went back into Capricorn, and then he was in Aquarius in January, and he went back retrograde into the sign of Capricorn in September. Like he's doing like a little brief kind of look back into Capricorn, like a little cleanup of the house. He's now moving into the Aquarius in November. And so we're wrapping things up in this area. And this is what affects us more on a global scale. So we may see, the Pluto and Capricorn era was very much dominated by big business, large government, populism was on the rise, fascist or fascist type leaders came on the rise, because Capricorn is very much about tradition, it is about rules, it is about boundaries, it's about big business, about big government. And so that was an era very much about that. And so we are wrapping some things up. They are concluding some things from that era. And then once in November Pluto goes into Aquarius, he's going to be there for 20 years. He's not stepping back into Capricorn. He's going to be there for 20 years. And so this is kind of a wrap up. So think about, was there something you started way back in 2008 that now is finishing up? This is kind of saying this is it. This is the wrap up. He's now going forward again. So he will be moving back towards Aquarius. But if you have like planets around 29 degrees, like right at the end of any of the signs, you're going to feel this more, I think, than others. So it'll be interesting to see politically what happens, because that period we have the American election. And so it's kind of like wrapping up this other era, and then we're going to see what we kind of have as we move forward. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what goes on. But there may be something interesting development, particularly on the world scale, around the 11th of October. On October 13th, Mercury goes into the sign of Scorpio. So Mercury is about travel, he's about communication, he's about the way we think, the way we learn, and he's been in the sign of Libra. And in Libra, he's very diplomatic. Again, Libra is a sign about fairness, harmony, beauty. And so he's very much about communicating that, like being very diplomatic about things, looking at the other person's point of view, trying to be fair about things, but sometimes can be a little passive aggressive. When he goes into Scorpio, he doesn't want to do small talk anymore. Mercury in Scorpio is like, let's get down to business. Let's dive down to what the real deep issue is. Mercury in Scorpio is like, let's have some like deep talks. Let's turn over that rock and see what's underneath it. Great for investigating. Like Mercury in Scorpio, the 3 weeks that he's in Scorpio there, yeah, he's there till the end of the month at least. He is about diving down, taking a good hard look at things. Good time to have those deep, meaningful conversations, to talk about things maybe that are bothering you. But very good for investigating things, very good for looking into things, also for psychological exploration, really good for what, people term shadow work, looking within, great for spirituality, also communicating things about sexuality too. Mercury in Scorpio, he's going to go there. He's going to talk about about those things. So watch for that as we get into the middle of the month. The next thing that we have is on the 17th of October, we have a full moon in the sign of Aries. This is not an eclipse, so we are out of eclipse season at this point now. It's just a regular full moon. Full moons, though, are a time of heightened emotions, and it's in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And so it's very much about, like, it's one where people can get kind of angry or kind of feisty about things. It can be really passionate too on the bright side, right? But Mars right now is sitting in Cancer, and so he's very much about protecting what we love, protecting the things we hold dear, protecting the things that we feel are really important to us. And so there may be a lot of emotions around this full moon, around those type of issues. This full moon as well is going to be squaring the Mars in Cancer, and squares are difficult. Squares are like a 90-degree angle. They're sharp. They're about tension. And so there's this tension around the things we want to protect, the things we love. And then the moon is also going to be squaring Pluto at the end of Capricorn. And so there's two squares there. We have Mars, you know, kind of generally opposite that Pluto. We have the moon in the middle there. And Pluto's, you know, power dynamics. And so we may be feeling really frustrated about the power dynamics involved, those that are in power, the rules, the regulations. And we may feel that those things are threatening the things that we love and the things that we hold dear. And so watch for there to be a lot of heightened emotions around the full moon that's occurring on the 17th. Also on the 17th, we have Venus going into the sign of Sagittarius. And so Venus is love and beauty. And Venus, you know, in Scorpio, she's kind of, I think of Venus in Scorpio as like your goth girlfriend, right? She's very dark, she's very mysterious. You know, again, she's all about the spooky stuff. She's about sexuality, like all of that kind of stuff, like all those stereotypes, right? But when she goes in Sagittarius, Venus in Sagittarius wants to have fun. When Venus goes in Sagittarius, we want to go out, we want to enjoy ourselves, we want to have fun, we want to expand our minds and learn new things. This is a great time to travel. This is a great time, especially if you're going overseas or going somewhere you haven't been before. Venus in Sagittarius wants to go out on an adventure. Like, even if you can't go overseas, she wants to go on an adventure. She wants to have fun. She wants to maybe try new food. She wants to like do something she hasn't done before. And she wants to be, she wants adventure. She wants some exploration. It's also a really good time to explore new things when it comes to like creativity as well, to try something new, to learn something different, and to expand our minds. And then finally, we have the sun entering the sign of Scorpio on the 22nd, as the sun does at this, you know, time of year, go into Scorpio, which is definitely, you know, Scorpio season. October 22nd, headed towards, we're headed towards, you know, Halloween. Sun and Scorpio kind of, we tend to look more within. Our focus tends to be more on the internal. It tends to be like, okay, it's getting darker, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. And so we want to look within, we want to get cozy. We want to, you know, kind of, it's a good time to, you know, curl up with like a spooky movie or a murder mystery book. It's very Scorpio. Or to, you know, just look within psychologically, and also develop our spirituality too. This is a really good time to like, you know, pull out the cards or learn, you know, something new, something witchy at this time of year. So overall this month, I think the first half of the month is a little unstable with that eclipse season going on. I think that, you know, there may be some bigger develops in the world when it comes to around the 9th and the 11th, with both Jupiter going retrograde and Pluto going direct. We may see some things in that area. I think the full moon on the 17th is going to be quite volatile. Try not to get into fights with people, you know, but I think it's kind of like people's emotional buttons are really going to be pulled around this, or pushed around this full moon. And then I feel like things kind of smooth out as we get into the back end of October. So that's what I'm seeing for the month of October. Let me know what your thoughts are. Has the eclipse season, has it been like kicking your butt or not? So far, like I've had a couple of things that have gone on in the past year kind of wrap up, which is interesting. They're kind of wrapping up, which is great. You know, they kind of had to, but it's good that they're wrapping up. some issues. But, you know, I feel like this is kind of like we're wrapping things up and then we're going to go on to some newer things later. So let me know if the eclipses are affecting you, what your thoughts are. I would love to hear. Again, if you want to sign up for the free newsletter, you can sign up. It's on my website. Or if you want to sign up with Patreon for more detailed astrology, you can definitely do that. And I also have astrology readings on my Etsy shop. But otherwise, just thanks for being here, for all your comments, all your love and support. It means a lot to me. And as always, peace and love and rock.